Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You got Dank here, and your host, and got some interesting stuff coming up, interesting news stories. But first, I wanted to start out on a real sober note. This is the first time, I guess, I'm saying it publicly. The Empire Hempfest 2016, rest in peace. It didn't happen. The city of Eugene denied us the use of the park. They said that I allowed pot use in 2015. We appealed the denial. We lost. We're on a second level of appeal, which involved going to municipal court. Our attorney told us we had an excellent case. We had a really good chance of winning. And we were told we could possibly get a hearing date as late as 10 days before the event actually happened. Well, as it turned out, we never did get a court date, so the court system ran us out of time. So we're a little bit bitter about it, but on the other hand, we're activists first and show entrepreneurs second. So fighting is nothing new. I've been a cannabis legalization advocate for 20 years, and I've been fighting the whole time. So it's nothing new. However, this is a little different because it's a blatant can of bigotry, and our rights have been violated once again, and again, nothing new. So, but we need to fight back. So, looking for help. We have an attorney, but we still could use legal help. We also could use parking space. We've got 9 trailers that our equipment is on. We have them in safe locations now. But we do need to find places to store them. They're about 12 feet long, and we just need somewhere so we could, like I said, just keep them through until our next event. So if you could get a hold of me at Dank Bagman, either to help out with the Hempfest on either case, or you want to talk about Hempfest, send me an email to dankbagman@hotmail.com. We plan on doing next year. The other problem is volunteers. I don't know what we would have done if we had done the Hempfest, because I didn't have people showing up like I expected, even the key people. I had one person helping me at the protest party we had on the 16th. And by the way, NORML Bean and family and all the bands that played there on the 16th, we appreciate it. We had a protest party. We didn't publicize it for 2 reasons. One was we ran out of options with the Hempfest, and so we didn't have much time to promote the protest party. But also we didn't want to promote it too much to get too many people there, because it was a small venue. But at any rate, we had a great party and had some great people turn up, and we appreciate everybody's efforts in that. But like I said, I had one Hempfest person there of all the crew and the people that helped me over the years. And that was Catherine out of Oak Ridge, and I appreciate Catherine. I've known Catherine even before I was an activist, which predates the Hempfest and Eugene Cannabis TV. But anyway, I appreciate it. Catherine was there, and the whole thing and helped, so I appreciate it. So anyway, like I said, the Empire Hempfest is not a money issue. We just lost the park. And then interestingly, all of a sudden now I find out that Seattle Hempfest is in trouble. And this article is on kpug1170.com, dated July 19th, and this year, titled "Hempfest Could Be on Its Last Run." They're saying, could this be the last year for Seattle's Hempfest? Organizers say they barely have enough money for this year's event, but they likely won't have enough for next year. Founder Vivian McPeak blames the first day of last year's event. A downpour closed the event down for the entire day. The outlook for 2017 is so hazy, Hempfest started a GoFundMe page last month. To date, they've collected $390. So we worked, hope for the best for Salem Hempfest. They haven't been in communication with them for a number of years now. I don't know, didn't seem to want to communicate, so I don't know. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I've learned a lot from the Salem Hempfest. They've been doing it for a long time. I was impressed one weekend when I was up there. It started raining. Their staff came around with plastic, 6 mil plastic on rolls, and pulled off and said how much you need, and gave every vendor the plastic they needed to cover their booths to keep the stuff dry. As soon as it started raining, here it came. I was very impressed. Very, very well organized. And as far as losing business over a rain, I experienced that too. In about 2000, I don't remember exactly, 2011 or 12, we were rained on a Friday, and then the next 2 days weren't much better. So that was a pretty bleak year for us. The weather can definitely kill you. I found out they have rain insurance. I looked into getting rain insurance once, and I saw the first thing they said was starting at $600, and so I said, well, I didn't go any further. There's no way we could afford to spend $600, and just in case it might rain. So anyway, we just got caught the 1 year. So yeah, Oregon Country Fair got drenched pretty good this year, I guess. So of course I call that karma because of their hypocritical cannabis policies. But anyway, so we hope for the best for the Salem Hempfest. And I don't have the date. I just don't know. I mean, it's in August, and I can't remember the date, but it's easy to find. Just do a search for Salem Hempfest, and you got all the info you need. 2 more events coming up, and when I told you about on our last show, this is August 12th through the 14th, and I can't remember where. It's Cannabis versus Cancer Campout. And you get to go, you don't have a web page, just go to the Facebook and check out Cannabis versus Cancer Campout. That's August 12th through the 14th. And then August 13th through the 14th in Salem is the Oregon's first Cannabis Growers Fair. That's going to be, and their website is Oregon Cannabis Growers Fair, so .com. So you can check it out on the website. It says Live Cannabis Plant Awards. Over 60 grows will be showcasing their live cannabis plants. For the first time ever, Oregon's producers will be able to display live plants at the cannabis fair. Oregon is slated to be the premier craft cannabis model state, and is in an opportunity to view these live plants as well as meet the growers. And the website, another thing, on the website at 420presents.com says that there's going to be a Salem Hempfest August 27th. So put that on your calendars, and 420presents.com. So check that on the website. So then we rip over to Colorado to check on how Colorado's doing here. This is an article I came across in the MJBizDaily.com, that's B-I-Z, daily.com, dated July 12th, written by John Scheuer, titled New IRS Audits in Colorado Worry Cannabis Companies. The Internal Revenue Service has begun probing the large cash transaction of dozens of Colorado marijuana companies, sparking uncertainty and unease among cannabis entrepreneurs. The audits, focusing on Form 8300, have raised the specter of money laundering charges, but legal experts are divided over whether such fears are overblown. It's not necessarily something that a marijuana business has to freak out about. All cash-intensive industries are subject to Form 8300 filing requirements, Colorado Attorney Rachel Gillette, who has already settled multiple Form 8300 audits, said. Others aren't so common, including one business owner who is used to dealing with the IRS over issues such as a 280E. The IRS is explaining his company's failure to file Form 8300, which involves reporting cash payments received of more than $10,000. The type of scrutiny is something new, said the business owner, who asked to remain anonymous so as not to draw the attention of the IRS. So I'm looking at this with my tax attorney, and it's pretty serious, he said. They're not ruling out criminal charges. As a matter of fact, I know of a couple of the audits have come from the fraud division of the IRS. The audits are expected to spread beyond Colorado. Legal experts agreed that marijuana business owners facing one should retain an attorney. Any company or person in a trade or business that receives more than $10,000 in cash in a single transaction or in related transactions must file a Form 8300. Think auto dealers, attorneys, and of course cannabis companies, especially wholesalers. And as the IRS notes, drug dealers and smugglers often use large cash payments to launder money from illegal activities. Until now, Form A300 hadn't been a concern among marijuana industry businesses. The IRS is changing that. At least 30 Colorado businesses have been hit with Form A300 audits in recent weeks, said Colorado Attorney Jim Thorburn, who represents multiple marijuana companies facing such audits. The main problem, he said, is there's considerable uncertainty surrounding around the audits and what they could present. Questions without answers. Thornburn's concerns mainly stem from an IRS questionnaire agents have used in the audits. The questionnaire was obtained by a cannabis industry attorney and shared. It contains queries unrelated to standard 8300 audits, such as how many plants do you grow per year, and how many times did you harvest them during the examination period. What the IRS agents are telling us is that this is strictly civil and that it's educational, Thornburn said. If you take them on their word on the surface, then it could be civil. The question is, are they being completely candid with us? And we just don't know. And when we see a lot of these questions that are being asked, it raises more questions. Is this going criminal? I don't know. He also raised the possibility of the IRS working together with the U.S. Treasury Department and the Department of Justice to develop money laundering charges against cannabis companies. He noted that in April 2015, the IRS signed a memorandum of understanding with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network to share information. Thornburn worries the Form 8300 audits could lead to federal money laundering charges, which carry stiff penalties, up to 20 years in prison and a $500,000 fine per violation. But others said that, well, the situation isn't as serious as that, it deserves attention. Gillette, the Colorado attorney who said she first got hold of the questionnaire during an audit. She advises any attorney in any marijuana company to retain a lawyer and not answer anything that's unrelated. If you're not relevant to the audit, then you don't have to answer them, Gillette said. They'll ask for the moon, the sun, the stars, and the sky, but you give them what's irrelevant to the audit. The worst that will likely happen, she added, is a fine of $100 per missed Form 8300 for the 2015 tax year, and then $2,500 per missed form for the next 2016 tax year. If the federal government really wanted to build a criminal case against Colorado cannabis companies, she said, they could simply walk in the front door. So we'll continue that in the second half. Hey, we've got to take a quick break here, but these are the problems going on in Colorado, and the Colorado's situation is different than ours, but at the same time, there's similarities. So what happens in Colorado, we really need to keep our eye on. So that's what we're doing this story, and I'll be doing the second half on the second half of episode 617 of the Eugene Cannabis TV show. And you got Dank. I'll be right back, and I sure hope you will. Welcome back to the second half of the Eugene Cannabis TV show, number 617. You got Dank, your host, and I was just going through the story from the MJBiz.com, that's MJBIZ, marijuanaBizDaily.com, dated July 12th by John Schroyer. New IRS audits in Colorado worry cannabis companies. You have a sign in your building that says, "Come in and buy some marijuana," Gillette said. It couldn't be more obvious. If they wanted to build a case against you from a criminal standpoint, they don't need to go about it in this way. Can they be trusted? It may or may not be so simple, because a situation isn't necessarily explosive. It doesn't mean it can't backfire. That's California's Attorney Henry Waskowski's read on the Form 8300 audits that have been begun in Colorado. He expects them to spread to other states. Waskowski was contacted by Thornburn, and after going over all the relevant documentation, including our IRS questionnaire, he dubbed it concerning. "I see this as a very dangerous development," said Waskowski. He has a lengthy history of fighting the IRS in court on behalf of the marijuana industry. "How did you get started in the business?" "What the hell does that have to do with how much money a business is making?" "These are just talking points," Waskowski said. "If you gave them this information under the guise of civil audit, you would be making admissions that, if they decided to charge you criminally, could be used against you in a trial." Waskowski's guess, however, is that the IRS is compiling basic information on the marijuana industry. "And he's exactly right," said Jacques Rardon, a 29-year IRS veteran involved in criminal investigations, who also spent several years as a cannabis consultant. "The IRS is a bit behind the 8 ball because there are no audit standards. They're trying to learn as much about the industry as they can so they can move forward," Rardon said. "So if people are willing to answer these questions, they're happy to take those answers, and put them in their toolbox for when they put their standard procedures together. As far as criminal charges and penalties go," Rardon added, "there's a stretch unless there's an obvious pattern of deliberate non-compliance." She also said there was nothing extraordinary about the memorandum signed between the IRS and the FinCEN. "All a business must do once it's audited is pay the penalties, file the forms, and remain in compliance." But, she added, marijuana businesses outside of Colorado shouldn't be surprised to undergo Form 8300 audits in another year, especially given the industry's widespread ignorance about the requirement. It was kind of expecting this was going to happen in an area of concern because it not only impacts growers and dispensary, it implies all the businesses as well, Rardon said. Rardon also agreed with Gillette and Waskowski that the IRS is delving deeply with its questionnaire, and that the cannabis businesses that get audited should retain attorneys and answer unrelated questions. The scope of the 8300 audit should be: how many of your customers paid you in excess of $10,000 in cash? How often? Who were they? How were the events triggered? Did you file an 8300? If not, why not? Asked if he thinks the IRS is planning prosecutions around the audits, or if he, like Gillette, thinks Thornburn is making a mountain out of a molehill, Waskowski was circumspect. "The scary thing about our criminal justice system is that our prosecutors have wide discretion as to what cases to prosecute and what cases not to," Waskowski said. "I wouldn't rule out a prosecution for an 8300 offense. I would hope not, but I wouldn't rule it out." So it's, of course, my stance is fairly new, but my stance is now no taxation on pot. No tax on pot, period. We've been taxed since 1937 when it was made illegal, and they started fining people. They started putting people in jail. They started breaking up families. They started in the forfeiture thing. So since 1937, we've paid plenty of taxes, and I believe that it's time to stop, not start, taxes, because like I say, we've been paying them since 1937. So no tax on pot. That's my new mantra. I wanted to talk about NORML. NORML has an interesting thing going here. The Alan St. Pierre resigns as NORML Executive Director. Alan St. Pierre, when I started my chapter, he's the one that called me one time after getting a after getting a false tip from another board member. Anyway, called me, and one of the things he asked me is, "Are you doing anything?" Meaning, am I, as an activist, am I doing anything? Which I found quite offensive, because who's he to ask me what I'm doing, you know? So, but anyway, I was working on legalization, and that's more I could say for them, but that's another story. So we are talking about the National Organization of the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Is the often controversial director in recent years who will be replaced in the interim by Randy Quast, the organization's current treasurer. Quast founded Minnesota NORML and co-founded Portland NORML with Russ Belview, who broke the news at marijuanapolitics.com. And then back up a minute on that one too. Russ Belview is the one that came from National NORML and founded the Portland NORML. I was told, I got an anonymous phone call a week or two before it happened, that Russ Belview was coming from Washington, D.C. with money in his pocket from National NORML, and he's going to start a NORML chapter in Portland. There already was a NORML chapter in Portland, or it's called Oregon NORML, but it wasn't, they were inactive, so to speak. Anyway, so sure enough, Russ Belview showed up in Portland, started a new chapter, Portland NORML, and they're going and having regular meetings and doing good work. However, the Oregon NORML is really, the only thing Oregon NORML now is a face page. And there is a phone number there, and you call that phone number, it's the number of a lawyer that's trolling for clients. But anyway, that's a little bit about NORML. Serving as executive director will be Randy Quast, the current treasurer, who was selected unanimously by the board of directors. Quast will serve in the interim period while the board forms a search committee for a permanent executive director, according to Board Secretary Dan Vietz. Quast was the founder of it. St. Pierre has been in NORML since 1991, when he joined the board as the communications director. He has been the organization's executive director since 2005. Additionally, he leaves his post as head of the NORML Foundation, the nonprofit research and educational arm of NORML, at which he served as founding executive director since 1997. Conflicts between NORML and regional affiliates have been common in recent years. I can speak of that because I had a NORML chapter, and but anyway, in 2010, St. Pierre and NORML frowned upon dispensing cannabis at the Southern Oregon NORML location. At the time, Executive Director Lori Duckworth was supplying cannabis to medical patients under the original Oregon Medical Marijuana Act, the Act's gray area. Oregon's licensed dispensary system started in 2013. NORML pressured the chapter over their practice of lobbying for marijuana laws and frowned upon dispensing dispensing medical cannabis at their NORML chapter. The chapter continued on independently as Southern Oregon Cannabis Community Center until they were raided by local Medford police in 2013. All the convictions from that raid have since been expunged from Lori and Lee Duckworth's records. I'm pleased to see the change, Duckworth told the OCC, that's the Oregon Cannabis Connection. It's been a long time coming, since the day I was told as the executive director of Southern Oregon NORML to stop working to help further the medical program and laws and to only focus on full legalization. I knew NORML under the leadership of Alan and Keith was not the organization of compassion and concern for patients and farmers, she expanded. For me, they are and always will be my focus and life's work, and I'm excited to see my friend Randy Quast step into this new role. NORML revoked the charge chapter only after they were raided in 2013. St. Pierre's stance against medical marijuana would become much more clear thanks to his own words in 2012 Celeb Stoner op-ed. In it, he was less than fully supportive of medical marijuana. Defending the medical marijuana is so yesterday, said St. Pierre, wrote in Celeb Stoner in January 2012. Why not acknowledge the political and legal farce it is and focus on the real problem at hand, ending cannabis prohibition? The medipot industry, of course, opposes actual legalization, such as last year's Proposition 19, which was also opposed by the profiteering communities in the state's northern grow counties, St. Pierre also noted. These sentiments were met with harsh criticism and demands for his apology and resignation at that time. In Colorado, Warren Edson, his wife Georgia, and Mile High NORML Director Scott Green all resigned from the organization, citing the comments in the article. Belleville also reported that St. Pierre would attain his seats on the board on the NORML and the NORML Foundation. So, all the best to National NORML. Like I said, I haven't been a real fan of National NORML, even though I was a chapter president, founding member and president of a chapter for a number of years. But anyway, in the last little bit of the show, I wanted to go over the presidential election real quick. This is an article that was on the MPP.org. That's the Marijuana Policy Project.org. Great organization. It says, where do they stand on marijuana policy? This was, so they start out with Hillary Clinton. They saying that she has a B+ grade as far as cannabis issues. Clinton has expressed support for legal access to medical marijuana and more research into the medical benefits of cannabis. And then we go down to let's see, run out of time here. Oh, Gary Johnson, of course, A+, libertarian. We've all known Gary Johnson and we appreciate his support. Jill Stein, the Green member, she's also A+. And Donald Trump is a C+. This is, where does he stand? He supports legal access to medical marijuana, and he believes states should be able to set their own marijuana policies with regard to adult use. In terms of marijuana legalization, I think there should be a state issue, state by state. Marijuana is such a big thing, I think medical should happen, right? So he's speaking in favor of it, so when the time will tell, we'll see. Whoever wins, we lose. That's the way it is every presidential election, seems like. You got Dank, and hope you're here next time. I will be.